The freeloader. The notification appeared on my phone at 11:47 p.m. I was almost done finishing the quarterly revenue reports for Sapphire Hospitality Group, the company I worked for. It was an Instagram alert. My sister Emma had tagged me in a post. I sighed. Usually that meant there was another family picture, the kind where everyone looked happy together and I wasn't invited. That had become a normal thing over the last 3 years. But this time it was different. This one hurt more than usual. The photo showed my entire family sitting around a beautiful infinity pool. They all had colorful tropical drinks in their hands, wearing designer sunglasses that reflected a bright Caribbean sunset. My parents looked relaxed in matching white resort robes. My brother Bijoy had his arm around his wife Sarah. Both of them were smiling happily at the camera. Emma stood in the center of the photo, her blonde hair perfectly styled even though she was at the beach. And then I saw the caption, the words that made my heart tighten. Family vacation without the freeloader. Sometimes you need quality time with people who actually contribute. #blessed, #family time, #nadramamama, #adult son. The post already had 956 likes and more were coming every minute. I started reading the comments. Looks amazing. You deserve this. Family time is the best time. Good for you. Some people just bring drama. Cutting out dead weight is healthy. Each comment felt like a tiny cut. Then I noticed something else. I recognized the hotel in the photo immediately. It was the Grand Sapphire Resort in Turks and Caicos, one of the company's most famous properties. The same infinity pool with the glass edge, the hand-carved wooden furniture, and the blue tile design that I had personally worked on 3 years ago. I remembered how proud I was when that renovation was completed. I had spent months perfecting every small detail. Just then my phone buzzed again. A text from my assistant Olivia. The Grand Sapphire manager is requesting approval for a large group extension. The Thompson family wants to add 3 more days. Should I approve? I froze. The Thompson family. That was my family. They still used my mother's maiden name when traveling because they said it made booking hotels easier. What they didn't know was that their so-called freeloader sister had been the one giving them free luxury vacations for the past 2 years. I had personally approved all their stays as VIP complimentary reservations. I opened my laptop and pulled up the guest management system for all 37 Sapphire Resort properties. There it was, the Thompson reservation. A 7-day stay in 2 oceanfront suites, with all-inclusive dining, spa treatments, and private excursions. The total value, $28,000. All covered under my approval code. I stared at the screen. My finger hovered over the keyboard. For a moment, I thought about all the times they had called me a failure or a charity case. 5 years earlier, I had told my family about my financial struggles. I had just finished my MBA and was working long 16-hour days as a junior analyst at an investment firm. I could barely pay my rent or my student loans. Emma had said, in her usual sweet but cutting tone, "Well, at least you're trying. Some people are just better at making money than others." That one sentence had stayed with me for years. After that, everyone in the family began to treat me differently. They offered me advice I didn't ask for, tried to help me with connections, and acted as if I needed saving. Then, when I started investing in small hospitality properties, they laughed. "That's cute," Emma had said. "Be careful," Dad warned. "Hotels and restaurants are risky. You should invest in something safer, like index funds." "Yeah," Bijoy added. "You know 90% of restaurants close within 5 years, right?" They had no idea that those risky investments would one day grow into a multimillion-dollar business, and that I would be one of the executives running Sapphire Hospitality Group. Now here they were, enjoying the luxury of my success, without even knowing it, while calling me a freeloader. I looked again at the screen. The Approve Extension button was right in front of me. I smiled slightly, took a deep breath, and thought, maybe it's time they learned who really pays for their vacations. I didn't click Approve. Instead, I typed a message to Olivia. Please cancel the Thompson family's complimentary stay immediately. They'll need to cover their own costs from now on. Then I sat back, feeling a strange mix of sadness and relief. Maybe they'd finally understand that the freeloader had been the one keeping their paradise alive all along. The Freeloader Part 2. Maybe try something smaller first, Mom had suggested years ago. Like a food truck or a little bed and breakfast. You don't want to risk too much. So, I stopped telling them about my investments. When my first property started making a profit, I didn't say a word. When I bought the second and then the third, I kept quiet again. And when Sapphire Hospitality Group grew from a small side project into a multi-million-dollar company, they had no idea. It was easier this way. They were happier believing that I was still their struggling little sister, and I was happier not having to defend my choices every time we met. The first time I gave them a free vacation was for Mom's 60th birthday. They had booked a weekend at our Sapphire Resort in Napa, and I secretly upgraded them to the presidential suite and paid for everything. Afterward, they couldn't stop talking about how incredible the service was, and how lucky they were to find such a great deal. I just smiled and nodded. That became a pattern. For a family wedding in Maui, I made sure they got the best oceanfront rooms. For Mom and Dad's anniversary in Charleston, I arranged for the Sapphire Boutique Hotel to give them a special loyalty discount. They thought they were smart travelers who always managed to find amazing deals. I thought I was being a good daughter, quietly helping family who believed I couldn't even help myself. But tonight, after reading that Instagram caption, freeloader, everything felt different. For the first time, I realized I had been feeding their story, not correcting it. I had let them believe I was the weak one when all along I was the one paying for their luxury. I took a deep breath and picked up my phone. It was time to change things. I called Daniel Rodriguez, the general manager at the Grand Sapphire Resort in Turks and Caicos. He answered quickly. "Good evening, Olivia," he said politely. "I hope I didn't wake you with that extension request." "You didn't," I said. "Actually, I'm calling about the Thompson reservation." "Of course," he replied. "They're lovely guests, very polite and complimentary about the service. Should I go ahead and approve their extension?" I looked at Emma's post again. It now had 1,247 likes, and the comments were still coming in. "So proud of you for cutting out toxic people. Drama-free vacations are the best. You deserve happiness." My heart felt heavy, but my voice stayed calm. "Actually, Daniel," I said, "there's been a change. I need you to revoke the VIP comp status on that reservation." There was a short silence on the other end. "Revoke it?" he asked carefully. "Should I just move it to a regular booking?" "No," I said firmly. "Cancel the comp completely, and charge their credit card on file for the full amount, including all the services they've already used." Daniel hesitated. "Olivia, that's a significant charge. With 7 days and 2 suites, the spa treatments and dining, we're looking at around $28,000. "I understand," I said. He continued. "They're in the presidential suites right now. If they can't pay the full amount, standard protocol would mean immediate checkout." "That's correct," I replied. "Follow standard policy." There was another pause. Daniel sounded unsure. "Are you certain? This sounds like a family matter." "I don't want to." "Daniel," I interrupted gently, "they've made it very clear they don't consider me family. So let's treat this like what it really is. A business transaction." He was quiet for a moment. Then finally he said, "Understood. When should I process the charges?" I looked again at Emma's post. They'd been enjoying their freeloader-free vacation for over 3 hours, soaking in likes, comments, and sunshine, all paid for by me. Process everything first thing in the morning, I said. When they wake up to their room service breakfast, I want them to wake up to a corrected bill. And if they can't pay, then they check out immediately. Follow standard policy, I said calmly. Then I added one more thing. And Daniel, make sure you explain that their previous stays were comped as a courtesy to the property owner. Daniel hesitated again. Do you really want them to know that you're the property owner? I smiled faintly. Yes. I want them to understand exactly how their amazing deals worked. He nodded through the phone. All right, Olivia. I'll take care of it. Thank you, Daniel, I said quietly. I've never been more sure of anything. After hanging up, I opened my laptop once again. At the top of the screen, I began typing a new email addressed to all 37 managers of Sapphire Hospitality Group properties. The subject line read, Subject: Removal of VIP comp status Thompson family. For years I had been quietly taking care of them. Tonight, for the first time, I was taking care of myself. The Freeloader Part 3. The email I sent that night was short and professional. It instructed every Sapphire Hospitality Group property to remove the Thompson family from all VIP lists and to charge full rates for any future bookings. I even attached photos and ID details to make sure there was no confusion. I didn't want them getting another free night anywhere in my world. As I typed, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Notification after notification. Emma's post was going viral, not just among strangers but within our extended family, old classmates and family friends. Everyone was liking, commenting and praising her for finally setting boundaries and removing toxic people. Proud of you, Jess. Family can be the hardest part of growth. Good for you for protecting your peace. By 2 a.m., I finally closed my laptop. My phone was silent on the nightstand, glowing softly in the dark. I knew that by morning, everything would be different. When I woke up at 7 a.m., my phone was exploding with 17 missed calls and 43 unread text messages. The first was from Mom, sent at 6:23 a.m. Sophia, honey, there's been some kind of mistake with our hotel bill. Can you call me? Then Dad at 6:31 a.m. Soph, there's confusion at the resort. They're saying we owe $28,000. Obviously that's an error. Please call. Then Joey, my brother, at 6:45 a.m. Sis, did you see what happened to Mom and Dad's bill? This is insane. You should talk to them. But it was Emma's message at 6:52 a.m. that made me pause and smile. Sophia, they're trying to kick us out of the hotel. They say we owe thousands for rooms that were supposed to be comped. Can you help? You work in hotels, right? I leaned back in bed, reading that last line again. Yes, I did work in hotels. I owned 37 of them. I called Daniel Rodriguez, the general manager at Grand Sapphire Turks and Caicos. Good morning, Daniel, I said. How are things going? Good morning, Olivia, he replied. I processed the charges at 6 a.m., just as you requested. And their credit card was declined, he said carefully. Insufficient funds for the full amount. I smiled faintly. Go on. Well, Daniel continued, I spoke with Mrs. Thompson about payment options, and that's when things got interesting. How so? I asked. She was certain it was a mistake, he said. She insisted that their family had always received comp rooms because of a family connection in the hotel industry. She even said her sister handled it for them. I felt my stomach flutter. And what did you tell her? I explained that she was correct. The comp status had come from a family connection, he said slowly. Specifically, the owner of Sapphire Hospitality Group had been covering their stays. But that arrangement has now been revoked. My breath caught slightly. Did you mention my name? No, not directly, he replied. But she became very insistent about speaking to whoever had been paying for the rooms. She believes it's a misunderstanding that can be fixed with a quick call. At that moment, my phone started ringing again. I should take this, I said. What's their checkout status? They have until 2 p.m. to settle the bill or vacate the suites, Daniel replied. Standard policy. Perfect, I said quietly, then answered the incoming call. It was Emma. Sophia. Thank God you picked up, she said, her voice high and rushed. This place has gone crazy. They're saying someone was paying for our rooms and now they're not. We owe $28,000. That sounds stressful, I said calmly. It's insane, she snapped. They won't tell us who was covering the rooms, just that it was a family member in hospitality. Mom thinks it might be cousin Rachel. She works for Marriott Corporate. I let her talk. Can you please call the manager and explain that this must be some kind of computer error? She begged. You know hotel systems, right? I got up, walked to my home office, and looked at the wall in front of me. A wall covered with framed photos, groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings, awards, grand openings, 37 properties across 12 countries, all built from a single bed and breakfast investment just 5 years ago. I took a deep breath. Emma, I said, I saw your Instagram post last night. There was silence on the other end. Oh, she said finally. That? Listen, it wasn't personal. We just wanted some family time without any complications. Complications? I repeated. You know what I mean, she said quickly. Sometimes family dynamics can be challenging. We just thought it would be better to keep things simple this time. No drama, no. By calling me a freeloader? I interrupted softly. She went silent. Emma, I continued calmly, you and the family have been enjoying complimentary stays at my resorts for the last 2 years. Every trip, every suite, every spa visit, all on my account. That's not possible, she said, her voice trembling a little. It's very possible, I said, because I'm the owner of Sapphire Hospitality Group. Silence again, only the faint sound of waves through the phone. You're joking, she whispered. I'm not, I said. And as of this morning, your comp status has been removed. You'll need to pay for your stay like every other guest. I heard her breathing quicken. Sophia, wait, we didn't mean. I know what you meant, I said gently. You made it very clear in your caption. There was nothing more to say. Enjoy the rest of your vacation, I said, and ended the call. For a long moment, I just stood there in my office, staring at the wall of achievements, proof of years of hard work that nobody in my family had ever believed in. My phone buzzed again, another call from Mom. I let it go to voicemail. This time I didn't feel angry. I didn't even feel hurt. I just felt free. The freeloader had finally stopped paying everyone else's bills and started valuing her own worth. The Freeloader Part 4. Freeloader. Emma repeated quickly, her voice rising. That was just me being funny, Sophia. You know, social media humor. People get it. 956 people seem to find it funny, I said quietly. She gave a nervous laugh. Sophia, come on. Don't take it so seriously. It was just a joke. I'm sorry if it hurt your feelings, okay? But right now we have a bigger problem. The hotel says we have to pay $28,000 or leave in 6 hours. That does sound like a problem, I said calmly. Yes, exactly, she said in relief. So can you help? Maybe call the manager and explain that we're good customers. We've been staying at Sapphire hotels for years. I'm sure this is just a mistake or something. I turned on my computer and pulled up her Instagram post again. It now had 1,891 likes, and the comments section had turned into a full-blown celebration. Good for you, Emma. Toxic family can hold you back. So proud of you for setting boundaries. You don't need negative people in your life. Each new comment felt like another knife twist, but this time I wasn't angry. I was done. Actually, Emma, I said slowly, I can do better than call the manager. Her voice brightened immediately. Really? You can fix this? Oh, thank God. I knew you'd come through for us. I took a deep breath. I can explain exactly what happened. Perfect, she said. So what's going on? The person who's been covering your hotel expenses for the last 2 years. All those amazing deals, free upgrades, and surprise perks. That person was me. There was silence. A long, deep silence. What do you mean you? She finally asked. I mean, I said clearly. I own Sapphire Hospitality Group. All 37 properties, including the resort you're currently staying in. I've been personally comping your family's accommodations because I thought it was a nice way to quietly take care of the people I love. The line went silent again. For a second, I thought the call had dropped. Then Emma's voice came back, small and shaky. Sophia, are you saying you own this resort? This one, yes, I said. And the one in Napa where you celebrated Mom's birthday. The one in Maui where Bijoy got married. The boutique hotel in Charleston, where Mom and Dad had their anniversary. All of them. But you work at that little investment firm, she stammered. I worked there 5 years ago, I corrected. That was when I was just starting out. Now I run a hotel group worth approximately $400 million. Another long silence. $400 million, she whispered. Give or take, I said. The market changes. But you never said anything, she said, her voice a mix of confusion and disbelief. You always acted like you were still struggling. Because every time I mentioned my success, I said, the family found ways to dismiss it, to make it smaller, to warn me about taking too many risks. It was easier to let you believe what you wanted to believe. So all those hotel deals were me, I said. Me taking care of family who thought I needed to be taken care of. I could hear voices in the background. Mom and Dad asking Emma what was happening. Sophia, Emma said finally. I don't understand. If you're so successful, why didn't you just tell us? I glanced at her Instagram post again, still glowing on my screen, full of likes and comments praising her for cutting out the freeloader. Because I already knew what you thought of me, I said quietly. And now I have proof. You didn't just think I was a failure. You turned me into a joke for the world to applaud. That's not fair, she said quickly. We didn't know. You didn't know, I said. So you assumed. And when you assumed, you decided I was a burden. You called me names. You mocked me online. It wasn't like that, she said weakly. It was exactly like that, I said, my voice calm but firm. You literally called me a freeloader while staying in a resort I own, eating food I paid for, enjoying services I provided. There was no reply, just the sound of waves and distant murmuring. Sophia, please, she said finally. This is just a misunderstanding. No, Emma, I said softly. This isn't a misunderstanding. This is clarity. For the first time, everyone sees the situation exactly as it is. What does that mean? She asked nervously. It means you have until 2 p.m. to pay your bill or check out, I said. The same as any other guest. Wait, Sophia. Goodbye, Emma. I ended the call. Then I turned off my phone and sat quietly for a long time, staring at the morning light spilling across my desk. 4 years I had worked in silence, building an empire brick by brick, deal by deal, night after night, while they laughed, doubted, and pitied me. And now the truth had finally spoken for itself. I didn't need their approval anymore. I had something better: self-respect. The Freeloader, Part 5. You can't be serious, Emma said finally, her voice shaking. I'm always serious when it comes to business, I said. But we're family, she shouted. I paused for a moment and then said quietly, you made it very clear last night that I'm not part of this family. So let's treat this like what it really is. A business transaction. I could hear her in the background now, talking fast, trying to explain to Mom and Dad what was happening. Their voices rose, shock, confusion, panic. Then Emma came back on the line. Sophia, wait. We can't afford $28,000. You know that. I know that now, I said. But I didn't know that when I was covering all your expenses. So what are we supposed to do? She asked helplessly. The same thing any other guest would do when they can't pay their bill, I said simply. Check out and find accommodations you can actually afford. I could hear Dad in the background, his voice angry, saying something about calling lawyers. Mom was crying, saying it was all a misunderstanding. Sophia, please, Emma said again. Can't we talk about this? We are talking about it, I said. I mean in person, she pleaded. Can't you come down here so we can work this out as a family? Emma, I said softly, I'm not part of this family. Remember? You made that clear to 1,891 people online. That was social media, Sophia, she said quickly. It wasn't real. It felt real to me, I said. There was a long pause. Then she whispered, Sophia, I'm begging you. Please don't do this. I stood up and walked to my office window. Outside, the city skyline stretched across the horizon. Tall buildings, sunlight bouncing off glass towers, people down below rushing to work. Millions of people out there working hard, chasing dreams, building something from nothing, most without family support, some in spite of their family's doubts. Emma, I said finally, I want you to think about something. What? She asked, her voice small. For 2 years, I've been quietly supporting a family who believed I was too unsuccessful to support myself, I said slowly. I've spent more than $200,000 making sure you all had luxury vacations, beautiful views, fine dining, private pools, all while you pitied me for my so-called financial struggles. We didn't know, she said weakly. You didn't ask, I said. You assumed. And then last night, you celebrated publicly that you'd cut off the very person who made those celebrations possible. She didn't say anything. I could hear her breathing, but she was silent. Finally, she whispered, Do you know how that feels, Sophia? I sighed. Yes, I said quietly. It feels like being invisible. I'm sorry, she said. We're all sorry. We had no idea. You had no idea, I said. Because you never considered that I might have actually succeeded, that I might have proven all your predictions wrong. We never said you'd fail, she said quickly. Dad told me hospitality investments were too risky, I reminded her. Bijoy said 90% of restaurants fail. Mom told me I should start small, maybe with a food truck. We were just trying to protect you, she said. No, I said, my voice steady. You were trying to manage me. You didn't trust me to make my own choices. And when I succeeded anyway, it was easier for all of you to stay ignorant than admit you'd been wrong. Sophia, please, Emma said desperately. What can we do to fix this? I opened the hotel's billing system on my computer. Their current total glowed on the screen. $28,000. 7 days of luxury they couldn't afford and never appreciated. You can start, I said, by posting a correction on Instagram. A correction? She repeated. Yes, I said. Tell your 1,891 followers the truth, that the freeloader you bragged about cutting off owns the resort chain you've been vacationing in. Tell them that every luxury trip you've taken in the past 2 years was paid for by the sister you mocked. There was a long silence. I can't post that, she said finally. Why not? I asked. It's embarrassing, she whispered. More embarrassing than calling your sister a freeloader in front of almost 2,000 people? I asked quietly. Another long pause. If I post a correction, she said slowly, will you cover the bill? For a moment I just stared at my screen. Even now, after everything, she was still thinking about what I could do for her, not about what she had done to me. I felt the same familiar disappointment fill my chest. No, Emma, I said softly. That ship has sailed. Her voice cracked. Then what do you want, Sophia? I took a deep breath. I want you to understand that actions have consequences, I said. And all of this is one of them. Then I ended the call. For a moment I just sat there, listening to the quiet hum of my office. No voices, no shouting, no guilt, just peace. Outside the city kept moving. And for the first time in years I felt completely free. The freeloader final chapter. I want you to realize, I said slowly, that the person you dismissed and mocked has been supporting you this entire time. And now I want you to check out of my hotel and find your own way home. Sophia, please, Emma begged. You can't mean that. I do, I said firmly. I have a conference call with investors in 10 minutes. I need to go. Please don't hang up, she said quickly, her voice breaking. Goodbye, Emma. And with that, I ended the call. For a few seconds, I just stared at my phone. Then, calmly, I went into my contacts and blocked all of their numbers: Mom, Dad, Bijoy, and Emma. The silence that followed was almost peaceful. Then I called Daniel, the general manager. How are they handling the situation? I asked. He hesitated for a moment. About as well as expected. There's been some shouting in the lobby. Mrs. Thompson asked to speak with the owner. What did you tell her? I told her the owner's decision was final, and that checkout was mandatory by 2 p.m. if the bill wasn't paid. They're in their rooms right now. I believe they're packing. Thank you, Daniel, I said. That's all. By 3 p.m. Daniel called again. The Thompson family has checked out, he said. They moved to a budget hotel about 20 minutes away. Economy rooms. They also changed their flights to leave tomorrow morning, instead of staying the extra 3 days. Understood, I said quietly. At 4 p.m. my phone rang again. An unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A few minutes later I listened. It was my father's voice, tight with emotion. Sophia, this is your father. We found a payphone at the airport. We need to talk about what happened today. This can't be how our family ends. Please call us back. I didn't. At 6 p.m. another voicemail. This time from Mom. Sweetheart, I don't understand what happened, but I love you. We need to work this out. Please don't let money come between our family. Then at 8 p.m. one from Bijoy. Sis, Emma told us what she posted on Instagram. That was wrong. We should have defended you. But this nuclear option feels extreme. Can we find some middle ground? I listened to each message twice. Then I deleted them. The next 2 days passed quietly. No more calls, no more messages. The family chat went silent. The storm had ended. 2 days later, Emma posted again on Instagram. This time it was a single photo, an airport terminal, luggage lined up beside her. The caption read, "Sometimes life teaches you humility in unexpected ways. #lessons learned, #family, #grateful. No mention of freeloaders. No mention of me. No apology." But the comments told a different story. A few people had started asking questions. Wait, didn't you say you excluded your sister? What happened? Are you guys okay? You looked like you were staying somewhere amazing. Now you're at the airport? Emma didn't reply to any of them. She just stayed silent. 3 weeks later, an email arrived in my inbox. Subject, family meeting. It was from Mom. Sophia, we'd like to arrange a time to talk with you about everything that happened. We realize now that we owe you more than apologies. We owe you recognition and respect for everything you've accomplished. Would you be willing to meet with us? We can come to you whenever and wherever is convenient. Love, Mom. I sat there staring at the screen for a long time before typing my reply. Mom, thank you for your message. I appreciate it, but I need more time. What happened wasn't just about an Instagram post. It was about years of being underestimated, dismissed, and doubted by the people who said they loved me. I need space to figure out how to move forward. I do love you all, but love alone isn't enough to rebuild trust. That's going to take time and genuine change. Sophia. An hour later, she replied, "We understand. We'll wait as long as it takes. And Sophia, we're proud of you. We should have said that years ago." I closed my laptop slowly and looked around my office. On the walls were framed photos of hotel openings, ribbon cuttings, and awards from around the world. Every one of them was proof of what I had built, proof that I hadn't failed, proof that I had never needed their approval to succeed. They had doubted me, but I had done it anyway. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel the weight of their expectations or their judgment. I just felt free. Whether we ever rebuilt our relationship or not didn't matter anymore, because I was finally done pretending to be less than I was, just to make other people comfortable. I was successful. I was independent. And I was no longer apologizing for either. Sometimes the best family vacation is the one where you finally stop pretending and start living as who you really are.